dedicated to each and every one of you who appreciate a great glass of wine. You know what I mean?
It's Monday. Let's raise a glass to the beginning of another week. It's time to unscrew, uncork, or saber a bottle, and let's begin exploring the wine glass. Hey there, wine friends. Welcome back to Exploring the Wine Glass, where I'll never tell you what to drink, but I'll always share what's in my glass. Today, we're continuing our journey along Spain's northern coastline, and we're visiting a region that's small in size, but big in personality, Cantabria. From misty mountains and secret valleys to prehistoric caves and coastal waves, Cantabria may not be the first place that comes to mind when you think of wine, but it is a story worth raising a glass to. So pour yourself something delicious, get comfy, and let's explore the hidden wines, ciders, and legends of Cantabria. Please take a moment of your time to subscribe, rate, and review Exploring the Wine Glass. It's completely free and is a great way to let other wine lovers know about the podcast. Be sure to head over to the website exploringthewineglass.com to read my award-winning blog and to see what else I've been up to. And most of all, please tell your friends about the podcast. Slainte. Hey everybody, I'm Lori Budd, a UC Davis winemaking program, Spanish wine scholar, sommelier service, champagne and Côte d'Aron specialist, and a WSET Level 2 graduate. You can find Exploring the Wine Glass on all the socials as well as your favorite podcast catchers. If you haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to swipe, subscribe, rate, and review. Stay in the know about all things wine by visiting my website, exploringthewineglass.com. I promise I'll never tell you what to drink, but I'll always share what's in my glass.
You are special.
All right, welcome back. In order to ground us on the map, last episode we wandered through Asturias, nestled between the ocean waves and the mountain peaks. Today we're going to slide just a little farther east along that same coastline, and it's a region where sea spray and mountain mist mingle, shaping both the landscape and the wines. Cantabria may be one of Spain's smallest autonomous regions, but it sure knows how to make an entrance, ranking 15th out of 17 with an area of just 5,321 kilometers squared. It is tiny. In fact, the only two regions smaller are La Rioja and the Balearic Islands. Tucked snugly between Asturias to the west and the Basque Country to the east, it's a place where the Bay of Biscay stretches wide to the north while the Cantabrian Mountains stand to the south. It's almost as if the ocean and the mountains decided to meet up and high-five each other. The result? A landscape that feels downright dreamy. You've got rolling hills that could pass for Ireland on a misty morning, rugged cliffs that tumble straight into crashing waves, and tucked away valleys that seem frozen in time. It is like just secrets waiting to be discovered. And now, a word from our sponsor. Love Spanish wine? Or maybe you want to start exploring it? Get ready for a product that's as fun as it is educational. The Exploring Spanish Wine, the Bingo Brains edition, is one-of-a-kind, downloadable PDF that uses a fun game of bingo to help you master the key facts about Spanish wine. It's a relaxed, non-judgmental way to learn about the country's diverse grapes and the regions on your own time. Think of it as a guide where you can sip, learn, and maybe even shout bingo, all for $4. Find all the details and download your copy at exploringthewineglass.com under the Education tab. Slainte. For all of its modest size, Cantabria has a personality that will fill any room. Here, individuals can spend a day skiing on the jagged peaks of the Picos de Europa, while others are surfing the Atlantic waves just an hour's drive away. It's a region full of delightful contradictions, wild and welcoming, timeless and alive with energy. Thanks to the Atlantic's influence, the climate is humid and temperate, which means an umbrella may be your best friend, but you'll also be rewarded with some of the most beautiful, lush scenery in all of Spain. That constant blanket of green is exactly the whole northern strip of the country is called Green Spain. Cantabria is rich with history that goes far beyond wine, although wine certainly has its place in the region's story. One of its greatest treasures lies underground, the Altamira Caves. These caves are often called the Sistine Chapel of Prehistoric Art, and once you hear why, you're going to have to agree. Imagine stepping into a dark chamber, only to see walls alive with bison, deer, horses, and these are paintings from over 36,000 years ago. The detail is so extraordinary that when the caves were first discovered in the 19th century, scholars were like, yeah, no, these are not real. These have just been put into place now to try to fake us out. But they are truly authentic, and they've given some awe-inspiring glimpses into the creativity of some of the earliest humans in Europe. So where does wine fit into this ancient picture? Well, while those cave painters weren't sipping Tempranillo out of fancy glasses, there is a connection more poetic than literal. These same caves sit in a landscape where thousands of years later, vines would be planted on terraced slopes and along river valleys. Just as the cave art reveals a culture deeply connected to the natural world, Cantabria's wine story is about humans adapting and celebrating a very rugged environment. Both the art and the vineyards are acts of persistence, showing evidence of people finding beauty and just loving the land across time. Even the name Cantabria ties back to the enduring spirit. It comes from the Cantabri, a Celtic tribe famous for their fierce independence. When the Romans tried to take control, the Cantabri fought them tooth and nail. It took Rome years and years and relentless campaigning to finally claim victory. But even then, the Cantabri never fully surrendered their identity. And honestly, when you look at the Cantabria today, it is proud traditions. It is filled with hearty cuisine and wines that refuse to be overshadowed by bigger name regions. So you can still feel that determination running through the region. Over the centuries, Cantabria has been shaped by fishing, farming, and trade. Thanks to its coastline, its typical dishes include anchovies, sardines, and endless seafood. The mountains provide wood, shelter, and pasture land. Together, they create a culture rooted in both land and sea. But wine didn't just sprout up in Cantabria out of nowhere. It was carried here by waves of people and cultures who left their mark on the region. The Romans were likely the first to introduce organized viticulture, as they did across most of Spain, planting vines where their legions settled and their trade routes stretched. Later, during the Middle Ages, monastic orders played a huge role in keeping wine alive. Monks weren't just brewing beer. They weren't just copying manuscripts either. They were enjoying the wine. They were tending to vineyards. And they were making wine for both sacramental purposes and, of course, daily consumption. As Cantabria's coastal parts opened to trade with the rest of Europe, wine also flowed in through the merchants and travelers, blending outside influences with local tradition. Today, the vines are another way Cantabrians express themselves through their landscape, taking what the land offers and changing it into something lasting. The wines may be modern in production, but just like those Altamira paintings, they endure as proof of human creativity and a connection to the land. In that way, every sip is not just about flavor, it's about standing in the history and of the culture, from prehistoric art to modern glasses of wine. Here's where things get really interesting. Unlike some regions in Spain where vineyards dominate the landscape, Cantabria's wine scene is quieter, almost like a hidden treasure, but it's growing and growing. The region's primary recognized wine area is the Vino de la Tierra de Libana, a designation just below a denomination de origin, that DO, which highlights wines tied to a specific place. These wines are nestled in a valley tucked into the mountains. Libana has historically been isolated, allowing its cultures and wines to develop their own personality. Cantabria also has a few other smaller DOs to be aware of. DO Costa di Cantabria covers the coastal vineyards where the Atlantic influence keeps the climate mild and humid. Whites dominate here with grapes like Albarino Blanco and Godello, thriving in the cool, damp air and producing crisp, aromatic wines that feel like the ocean breeze itself. Reds are less common along the coast, but can include Mencia and Garnacha Tintoria, providing fresh and approachable fruitiness. And now, a word from our sponsor. Looking for a unique wine tasting experience? Look no further than Dracaena Wines' tasting room in downtown Paso Robles. Located on the corner of 13th and Pine, this charming spot is not your average winery. Founded by passionate wine lovers who also happen to be the brains behind Cab Franc Day, Dracaena Wines is proud to call themselves home of Blanc de Franc. This crisp and elegant white wine has gained a cult following and is just one example of their superb offerings. With over 10 years of consistently receiving 90+ ratings from top critics, these wines are sure to impress even the most discerning palates. So come raise a glass with us and celebrate great wines at Dracaena Wines' tasting room. Meanwhile, in Dio Libana, both reds and whites are grown at higher altitudes, which means cooler nights and grapes that maintain that acidity. Whites here include Albarino Blanco, while reds feature Mencia, Garnacha, and Tempranillo, leading themselves to light to medium-bodied wines with bright fruit and earthy undertones. Each grape variety tells a story of Cantabrian microclimates. Albarino Blanco, for example, is a native northern grape that produces citrusy, floral, white wines with lively acidity, perfect for pairing with local seafood. Godello, often grown at slightly warmer sites, adds that texture and a hint of stone fruit. On the red side, Mencia gives freshness and red berry notes. Garnacha contributes spice, and Tempranillo adds that soft backbone. Together, they create wines that feel like land itself. Coastal freshness, mountainous energy, and of course, that Atlantic mist. We can't talk about Cantabria without diving into the food scene because it's truly one of the highlights of the region. Being both coastal and mountainous, Cantabria offers the best of both worlds. On the coast, you'll find incredible seafood. Those anchovies from Santona are world famous, and Cantabria takes serious pride in their quality. These anchovies aren't just salty, they're little fish. They're delicacies. They're cured with care and often eaten simply on a piece of bread with butter or olive oil. If you're in the mountains, heartier dishes take the stage. One of the region's signature dishes is cocido montañas, a robust mountain stew made with white beans, cabbage, and pork. It's the meal that warms you up from the inside out. It's just those Cantabrian rainy days need a little comfort food. And of course, let's not forget the cheeses, my favorite. Cantabria is cheese heaven with varieties like Queso de Nata de Cantabria, which is a creamy cow's milk cheese that has its own denomination de origin protection. Cheese lovers will find that they have struck gold. And Cantabria isn't just about wine. You can dive into the spirits here. Arujo, the region's strong distilled liquor made from grape pomace, has been part of life for centuries. It's kind of the Cantabria's version of Italian grappa, often infused with herbs and traditionally enjoyed after a meal to aid digestion. If you visit, be sure to take a shot because I think you're going to want to experience it. And let's not forget cider. We learned all about cider in Asturias. The two regions share a love for apples and the long-standing tradition of sidra. But Cantabria puts its own spin on the story. Like Asturias, cider here is often tart, fresh, and slightly effervescent, poured from high above the glass in that signature escondado style to wake up the flavors. The similarities make sense. After all, the Atlantic climate produces those same lush apple-friendly landscapes, and the cider culture has been passed down for generations. But where Cantabria differs is in the variety of apples and the approach to production. Cantabrian cider tends to be a little less sharp and a touch fruitier than its Asturian neighbor. often balancing the natural acidity with subtle sweetness. While Asturias is famous for very communal cider houses and ceremonial pourings, Cantabria's cider scene is just a little bit more quieter and a bit more artisanal, with small local producers experimenting with blends of native apple varieties and actually adding some hints of herbs for complexity. Cantabria, like Asturias, is a land steeped in legends. While Asturias has its own water nymphs, mischievous trasagos, and fearsome culebre, Cantabria has a personality all its own in the folklore department. The most famous figure here is the uncanhu, a one-eyed giant with immense strength who embodies cruelty and danger. He is basically Cantabria's very own boogeyman. He's there to keep children in line, or at least add a shiver in those early mornings. And on the lighter side, Cantabria also has anjanos, gentle, fairy-like spirits of the forest who help travelers and leave gifts for the kind-hearted. Whereas Asturias tales often play with water, mountains, and playful goblins, Cantabria's legends feel a bit more wild and mystical, echoing those rugged cliffs, hidden valleys, and the ancient caves. These stories have been passed down for generations, and they give the region a magical layer that's easy to imagine while sipping a local glass of wine or cider. With every pour, it's as if you're raising a glass alongside the centuries of storytellers sharing in those tales, the giants, the fairies, and the misty mountains. So why should wine lovers and travelers like explore Cantabria? For one, it's still relatively off the beaten path, which means fewer crowds and more authenticity. You can stroll through charming fishing villages, hike the misty Picos de Europa, wander along quiet beaches, or marvel at prehistoric art. What else can you wish for? All without feeling rushed and overwhelmed. For wine and cider livers, Cantabria is a hidden gem. The wines of Lebanon may be small in production, but they're big in character with crisp Albarin Blancos, fresh Mencia Reds, and aromatic Godello Whites that reflect the region's unique microclimates. You pair them with the local specialties like the anchovies, the stews, the creamy cheeses, top it all off with a little cider or an herbal rojo, and you've got yourself the best culinary and wine adventure. But it's not just about food and drink. Cantabria is also about the atmosphere. The mist rolling off the mountains in the morning, waves crashing against the Bay of Biscay, the echoes of prehistoric cave paintings, and the warmth of people who are extremely proud of their land and eager to share their history. Every sip, every step, every taste feels like a connection to the centuries of history, culture, and natural beauty. So as we wrap up our journey through Cantabria, remember that this small but spirited region has plenty to surprise and delight. From those misty mountains and secret valleys to the crashing Atlantic waves, every corner feels alive with a story. Giants like the Onacanu, benevolent Anoras, and centuries of winemaking cider traditions. So whether you're sipping a crisp Albarin Blanco, tasting a fruity Mencia, or raising a glass of cider poured with that flair, just enjoy the drink. Connect with the land. Connect with the history that has been nurtured for centuries. So pack your curiosity, leave your rush at home, and let Cantabria charm you, one glass at a time. I hope you enjoyed our visit through Cantabria, and I hope to hear you soon. Slainte.
Very special. You are so special.
This has been another episode of Exploring the Wine Glass. Thanks for listening. If you have suggestions on what topics you would like me to discuss, please reach out on social media. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook as Exploring the Wine Glass. I am also on LinkedIn as Lori Hoyt Budd. Of course, you can always email me at exploringthewineglass@gmail.com and sign up for my newsletter at exploringthewineglass.com. If you enjoyed what you heard, please rate, review, and subscribe to help others find me more easily. And most importantly, tell your wine-loving friends, because if you like the podcast, they will too. Podcast music is Wine by Kevins. Until next week, Slainte.
I want to last right now. nice glass right now.